Thank you, Porter. And I'll take the host to share my screen. But first I want to do a quick preamble. So I want to jump on top of Porter's amazing presentation to give you guys a quick primer on how easy it is to get started with the DSML capabilities Porter was outlining. All these features, they're all behind a single click in the data flow view, right? That's the same interface you're already using for extracting information from data sources, to merge, join, modify, enhance data sets. It's all there. It's all abstracted as an operator, and that's really a core tenet of WebFOCUS ML functions, right? It's all abstracted as a module in the same way as a join function, a SQL select. So you can really work with these models with the knowledge you guys already have. And now with 9.2 WebFOCUS, we've really embraced the field of model explainability, right? That's to intuitively demonstrate the impact of each variable a model considers, right? So the example Porter used was customer churn. So which properties of a customer make them more likely to be labeled at risk of churn. And that's really critical when a model is making decisions that directly affect business outcomes, directly affect people, even legislation coming up. All puts emphasis on this explainability portion of data science and machine learning. And so what are those kind of questions you'd be able to answer if you were to use WebFOCUS's DSML capabilities right today and get started with these tools? Well, we've built the models, and I think Porter touched on this, in a way to really maximize our coverage of the most common business intelligence and predictive analytics use cases. So whatever you're thinking of right now, if you have something on the top of your mind, chances are WebFOCUS can answer it, right? Not only can we answer it, we can put that directly into a dashboard, into a report, wherever you want to surface that information. And actually, while I'm presenting the rest of this, over the QA, send me any use cases that are top of mind for you or your organization while I'm presenting, and I can tell you how it maps to the tools we're talking about at the end or during the Q&A when we're done. So if anybody wants to while I'm presenting, shoot it over in the Q&A and I'll tell you how you would approach that use case. So I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to give a quick, let's say 3-minute example. So we're here in the data flow view. Again, screen sharing now. This is where you would do your joining of data sets, your data pre-processing, whatever. And there's a tab in that view for these models. They're split, we can see, into 5 different categories. It's a little ambiguous, when you say classification, regression. So let's put some concrete use cases to each of those categories of models. Classification, that covers categorical predictions. So the example used before, churn prediction, right? Is the customer at risk of churn or are they not? As long as I have a data set for churned customers, I can train a model and run it against new customers, identify risk of new customers, whether or not they need to be attended to, whether or not they're at risk of churn, all these kinds of questions. That's the first one, classification here. Second one, regression. Similar to classification, but for numeric measures. So think of predicting the percentage likelihood that a customer is to accept an offer, the chance a loan will default. Any numeric prediction would fall under regression. And for those in the public sector, I know we have some from the public sector on this call. I've worked with customers on infrastructure monitoring, traffic analysis. I even worked on forest fire prediction, actually. These are all good examples of classification and regression models that can be built in WebFOCUS data flow and then put into a dashboard, put into a report, surface to whoever needs to see that information. Clustering, that's the next one. That's splitting my data. We could use an example again, customers, into separate groups based off of the features of my data set, but really also the sort of latent characteristics that may not be apparent to a human looking at that data, right? Customer segmentation is a good example, white space analysis. Those are the kind of problems I would tackle using clustering. Anomaly detection, these last two are pretty self-explanatory, finding outliers and assigning an anomaly score to each data point. Think fraud detection, of course, think preventative maintenance. The possibilities are endless on the downstream application of these kinds of problems, right? If I know that a machine is likely to need maintenance in the future, I can act on that beforehand, and I can detect that when it starts exhibiting anomalous behavior. Lastly, time series here. So that's predicting and measuring the future, of course, right? So think demand forecasting, even dynamic pricing applications, all these kinds of use cases where I'm forecasting a measure out into the future. So in this quick example, I'm actually working with the same data set that Porter showed. Again, this is sort of just reflecting accounts, card holders at a large bank. I'll grab a classification model. It's detected the categorical fields here at the top, right? So it's automatically detected. The only field here that has categorical measures is the attrition flag. So customers either okay or they're at risk of churn. It's going to ask me what I want to include in that prediction. I'll just include everything. I'll click apply. I'll give it a run. And that's it. It's going to start training the model. We're already almost done, actually. All I need to do after this is save the model, create a new repeatable flow, which is going to read in the new data sets I want to run this model against, make a prediction, write it to a target, and then build your dashboard, build your report, whatever you want to do downstream using these this model's analysis. Under the hood, it's actually, I think Porter showed a little bit of this as well, running a bunch of different models, comparing their accuracy, and then selecting the best one for me automatically. If I am a data scientist, if I do have knowledge of these models, I can sort of reach in there, get a bit more granular, and stress test the models themselves. But if I don't know what the underlying models are doing, it'll select the best one for me automatically. So that's nothing I need to worry about. Again, with the emphasis on a web-focused analyst, all I need to know is what data I want to use to predict and what do I want to predict. And then, of course, when we save the model, it's a master file, just like any other data source you've worked with for analysis. And so that's abstracted. I can build the dashboard, the report, whatever, directly off of that model. So it's done training. We've achieved, looks like 90-ish% accuracy. Get the zoom controls here out of the way. All I need to do now, save the model. Again, it's going to save it as a master file. And then what I'm going to do is create a new, I'll show this real quick, a new flow using this model. On unseen data, right? Go into the same folder. You can see random forest 0503. That's the model we just trained. Grab a new data set. Click on run models. There it's saved as a master file. Click on it here. Write it to a target. I'll go new target actually here. And then click run. There we go. Go back into the reporting server. Here's my new target. Unseen data. Run against this model with an appended prediction. That's it. Number one, choose the model. Number two, select what I want to predict, right? In this case, it was churn. 3, train the model. So run that initial training flow, save it. 4, run that save model in a new flow. That's what I just showed here against new data, right? And then I suppose 5, build a dashboard, report, maybe send an alert off based off the model's prediction. So in 5 steps and no more than, what was that, 8-9 clicks, you can really be the rock star at your organization that trailblazes your business intelligence to the realm of machine learning and AI. And I actually will show you one more little treat, a quick example I was working on in a conversation with a customer just this Monday, actually. They were looking to implement demand forecasting across warehouses and distribution centers. So this was built on a real open source data set in maybe 30, 45 minutes. And I'm not a designer expert. I'm pretty run of the mill. So again, something I was able to create in less than an hour. You're a warehouse manager. Let's pick a specific warehouse let's go Nashville. Here you go. Here's your estimated demand for today. Here's your prediction of sort of how that changed since the last week. And here's your 30-day forecast of what your demand will look like over the next 30 days at your warehouse, right? So it's capturing an overall positive upward trajectory. It's capturing the sort of weekly seasonality. And that's it. That's the use case, demand forecasting. Here's just 3 simple widgets that a warehouse manager would like to see. And this was all just done, again, in less than an hour using ML functions and then building a simple dashboard. Of course, you can get cooler and more complicated with the actual dashboard itself and with the applications you run on top of this. Once you know what the demand for a warehouse is going to be, something like scheduling comes to mind. How are you going to schedule your employees accordingly, right? So this is just the first level of what this analysis could uncover. And every time I ask a customer, are you pursuing predictive analytics? The answer is either always yes, or, not yet, we're not ready, something along those lines. I've never once had a customer, regardless of industry, just say, no, we're not pursuing predictive analytics, right? And the truth is, if you're already working in WebFOCUS, you are ready to get started with DSML. It's all there at your fingertips. It's right in the data flow view, using the tools you're already familiar with. It's really, again, there at your fingertips. With that, I'll hand it back over to Tim, and I hope some people posted use cases in the chat. We'll cover that back at the Q&A.